Okay, today we're going to be converting between the standard and metric measurement systems. So if you take a look, we're still going to be setting up our conversion the same way. We're going to start off with an amount, put it over 1, and then we're going to look for relationships that leads us to what we want, which would be the new unit. What we start with, we always want to put it at the diagonal. Now, we're either going to go from metric to standard, so from like kilometers or kilograms or liters to what we use here in the United States, or we are going to go from what we use here, standard, to the metric system, okay? So let's get started. You have to first, when you look at your problem, decide if you're going to be dealing with standard to metric or metric to standard, just by looking at your problem. So our first problem here is to convert 22 kilograms into miles. So first you need to decide, is that from metric to standard, or is it from standard to metric, okay? And it's very easy to do this. If you have this chart in front of you, you can just look to see if you find kilometers here on the top, or if you find kilometers here on the bottom. And for us, we got lucky. It's actually right here on the top under kilometer. So now we have to just look for the relationship between kilometers and miles, and it looks like we do have it right here, okay? So let's set it up. Same as before, we're going to create those two fractions. What we start off with, 22 kilometers, okay, over 1. And we're going to take those kilometers, and we're going to put them diagonal from one another. And we're trying to turn these kilometers into miles. And we did find that relationship here. So that was pretty easy, okay? So I'm going to say 1 kilometer is the same as 0.62137 miles, okay? And I'm going to write that on the top. We want that for miles. 1 kilometer goes on the bottom. 0.62137 miles goes on top, okay? From here, we eliminated the kilometers. We multiply straight through. And if I multiply 22 times 0.62137, I'm going to get 13.67014. On the bottom, multiply 1 times 1. I'm going to get 1. And when I divide this, I'm going to get the same thing. Anything divided by 1 will be itself. So I got the 13.67014. However, this is just too much. So we want to round it to the nearest tenth. Okay, so our final answer, try to round to the nearest tenth. For those of you who don't know how to round, remember, if I'm looking for the nearest tenth, the tenths place is one number after the decimal, so you have to look at its neighbor to the right, the 7. If this number is between 0 to 4, this guy stays the same. If this number is between 5 and 9, then we need to bump this guy up by 1. So in our case, this neighbor here is a 7. That means that this 6 gets bumped up. So our final answer here is going to be 13.7. And we're trying to turn these kilometers into miles. That means that my label here should be miles. Okay, let's try another one. So we want to convert 115 pounds into kilograms. So again, you have to first decide if you're going from standard to metric or if you're going from metric to standard. Okay. So one more time, I'm going to look at my chart. Can I find pounds on the first half? So I go through my list and I don't see pounds anywhere. So now I'm going to go to the bottom of my list and I'm looking for pounds, and sure enough, pounds is here. So that means we're going from standard to metric. Okay? Now that I know that the relationship we want is from pounds to kilograms. So looking here at pounds, it looks like I do have a relationship for grams and for kilograms. So we want this guy here, okay? So I am going to write that down right now before we get started with this problem. I have 1 pound. Remember, our abbreviation for pound is LB. And this is 0.45359 kilograms. So let me fix that real quick. 45359 kilograms. Okay? All right. Let's set it up. Remember, you can pause this at any time so that you can set up and then solve it on your own, and then check your answer with me. Okay, so we're starting off with 115 pounds, so that means it's 115 pounds. Remember, is LBS. This is over 1. Diagonal from pounds, I want to see that same label LBS here. And we're going to turn these pounds into kilograms. And we did find that relationship. Okay. So I know 1 pound, so I'm going to put the 1 next to pounds. And now I'm going to write this decimal for kilograms. So 0.45359. From here, we can now eliminate pounds because now we have kilograms. And now we're going to multiply straight through. So with your calculator, multiply 115 times the 0.45359. When you do, you should get 52.16285. And when I multiply 1 by 1 on the bottom, in my denominator, I get a 1. Again, dividing this by 1 will give us that same answer, so 52.16285. But again, too many numbers. We want to simplify our response by rounding to the nearest tenth. So again, one number after the decimal is tenths place. I'm looking at its neighbor. It looks like it's a 6. That means we're going to bump this guy up. So my final answer here is 52.2 kilograms. Let me erase that because I wrote a 5. No. Make sure to always write your label or else we don't know what you're talking about. Alright, I hope this clarified how to convert between the standard and the metric systems.